Hey y'all, welcome to the very first episode of Pretty Special Mysteries, where we dive into true crime stories that impact our community, our sisters, and our families. This ain't your typical true crime podcast. We keep it real, we keep it tender, and we keep it close to home. I'm your host, Pretty Special, and I want you to settle in with me. Grab your tea, wine, or whatever makes you feel cozy because we're going to talk through the life, the loss, and the legacy of a young woman whose name should be in the headlines everywhere, Ashanti Billie. Ashanti wasn't a statistic. She wasn't a missing girl story you scroll past on social media. She was someone's baby. She was joy. She was sugar, spice, and everything nice. Ashanti was born in Prince George's County, Maryland on April 22nd, 1998. A Taurus, okay? And true to her sign, she was grounded, loyal, and had a heart that took care of others. Her loving parents, Brandy and Tony Billie, were both military veterans. And not just veterans, they were the kind of parents who put love and discipline into Ashanti in equal parts. You could tell they did not play about their child. She was their only child, their pride, their whole world. And sis, she was a vibe. Everywhere I looked, I saw Ashanti love baking and cooking. And it wasn't just for fun. She had vision. One day, she wanted to own her own bakery. Her dream, a spot called Make It Sweet. She even had a whole menu planned out with goodies for everyone to enjoy. Beyond the kitchen, she was your typical teenager. Funny, stylish, full of life. She cracked jokes. She had a soft spot for animals. She was out here being a typical 19-year-old, figuring out who she was. Also, she had lupus. And that's important to know. Because with a strong autoimmune disease, even when her body was tired or in pain, she kept going. That shows you the kind of spirit she had. So after graduating high school, Ashanti made the move to Virginia Beach to study at the Art Institute. She had moved into her own apartment. She was balancing school and work and stepping into adulthood. She got a job at a Blimpie sandwich shop located on a military base, Joint Expeditionary Base Little Creek, to be exact. Now, this base isn't just your average job site. It's gated, secure, and clearance should be needed to get on there. And Ashanti was used to military culture. Her parents were military, so she knew the ropes, and they trusted that this job would be safe and secure. Ashanti worked hard. She opened the store most mornings, sometimes by herself. She got up early, made her money, then went to class. She did what so many of us try to do in our late teens and early 20s. Build. Quietly. Steadily. Everything changed for Ashanti and her family on the morning of September 18th, 2017. This morning, Ashanti didn't show up for her shift at Blimpie. Let's pause here for a second, because I need y'all to feel the weight of that. This young woman, who never missed work, who called her parents very often, who was raised with structure, who'd had goals and dreams, just vanish? Ain't no way. Everyone was confused, especially her coworkers. But the real panic didn't set in until her parents couldn't reach her. Y'all know, when parents call, we answer that phone, come hell or high water. Brandy and Tony knew something was wrong. And when parents feel something wrong in their spirit and they say it, we gotta believe them. They contacted the police that same day, but as we've seen too many times before, When a young black woman goes missing, the urgency just ain't there. Police didn't issue a formal search right away. There was no Amber Alert. There was no wide-scale call to action. Why? Because Ashanti was 19. Legally, she's an adult. Technically, she could drop everything she had and walk away and start over. But y'all just heard me describe what kind of woman she was. There's no way she would do that. Unless there was hard evidence of foul play, police usually write it off as a runaway. Or maybe she needed space. But again, Ashanti was an only child. Her parents devoted all of their love and attention to her. They knew better. So for 11 days, Ashanti's family searched, posted flyers, and begged for attention on her case. Her phone pinged in several locations. Surveillance footage showed her entering the base like normal that morning, but what was disturbing was that her car was seen leaving the base without her in it. Let me say that one more time. Her car was seen leaving a secured military base, but she was not driving it, nor was she in it. And still, no Ashanti, no Amber Alert, just her parents doing everything they could, knocking on doors, praying for leads, trying to get the public involved. Eventually, they found her white Mini Cooper abandoned in Norfolk, Virginia. Her phone and some of her belongings were inside, but there was still no trace of Ashanti. Again, a 19-year-old woman, very lively, very active. Her phone? She left it behind? Ain't no way. Then, the base Blimpie franchise owner stepped in and offered a $10,000 reward for information. It was one of the few moments someone with power and resources said, "Let's put something on the table to help this family." But even then, it didn't help move the case forward. In most instances, you would think money talks. You would think it would be a great motivator, but not in Ashanti's case. After 11 grueling days, September 29th came. A landscaper in Charlotte, North Carolina, over 300 miles away from Virginia Beach, in Norfolk, Virginia, where her car was found, a body was found behind a church, and it was Ashanti. Let me pause, y'all, because we need to sit with that. She had been missing for 11 days, and she was found beaten, her body discarded like trash behind a church. But our girl had defensive wounds, y'all. She fought for her life until the very end. The disheartening piece, she was found in a place meant for refuge and grace. Some evil monster used it as a dumping ground. Can you imagine what her parents felt like in that moment? They raised her. They loved her. They protected her. They did everything parents could do to protect their children. And now she was gone. Eventually, investigators linked her murder to Eric Brown, a 45-year-old Navy veteran who once worked construction on the base where Ashanti worked. There are a few red flags associated with him. He was no longer even authorized to be on the base. He had reportedly made inappropriate comments about Ashanti, calling her his girl. Other people had also noticed his behavior was off. And get this, his DNA was found inside Ashanti's car. He kidnapped her from the Blimpie on the base where she worked. He ended her life in one of the most violent ways imaginable. The motive, we may never know, but the pattern consisted of obsession, stalking, and power. Here's where the story gets even more infuriating. Eric Brown was arrested, which is what every murdered woman deserves. But after evaluation, although the evidence spoke for itself, he was deemed mentally unfit to stand trial. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, committed to a psychiatric facility, and that's where he remains almost 10 years later. Y'all, he will never be tried for her murder. There will be no trial, no presentation of evidence, no sentencing, and no victim impact statements for her family to receive closure in court. And let me be clear, mental illness is real. It deserves compassion and treatment. But so does the truth. So does accountability. And so does the life that was taken. Ashanti was murdered. And the man who allegedly did it, he gets to live out his days in a facility, tucked away from the consequences of his heinous actions. Here's the part about this story I love so much. Her parents, Brandy and Tony, could have collapsed. They could have shut the world out, but instead they fought. They used their grief to create change. See, when Ashanti was missing, as I said before, there was no Amber Alert. There was no alert system that existed for adults between 18 and 64. Amber Alerts are for children 17 and under, while Silver Alerts are for seniors 64 years and older or people with cognitive impairments. Ashanti sadly didn't qualify for either. And that may be why her case didn't get the attention it needed fast enough. So her parents said, nah, we're fixing this. They lobbied. They pushed Congress. They used every interview, every news statement, every moment of their heartbreak to advocate so that this would never happen to another young woman again. And in 2018, the Ashanti Alert Act was passed, a national alert system for missing adults who are believed to be in danger. That means if another young woman like Ashanti disappeared today, her name won't fade into silence. Ashanti's story is one of the many reasons this podcast exists. To tell stories like hers, to ensure people say her name, and to remind everyone that life is precious, valuable, and the loss of it is always worthy of justice. Thank you so much for listening. This has been episode 1 of Pretty Special Mysteries. If Ashanti's story moved you, please share it. Tell a friend. Be sure to like and subscribe and connect with me in the comments. If you have a story of someone who needs to be told, I am more than willing to tell it. I'll see y'all next time. And remember, no one is coming to save us, so we must be the voices to save ourselves.